My name is Mia Krasinski. I'm on the women's soccer team, and you're listening to Meep Meep Nation.
Hey everyone, welcome to our new episode of Making Nation. Sorry for the delay. We are still working on trying to get a good schedule here, but we're hammering it out. We've got a guest today, Daniel Sauceda from Rowdy Network. He'll be joining us for Christian, and we look forward to having him on board. But without further ado, let's jump into this last week's game against Rice, 34-14. Whopping against Rice. Got a little sketchy initially, a little slow, but then by the third quarter, we started to really hammer it in, and things started to look really good. And as far as what I've seen, I mean, I think this is the best we've ever seen our program look, at least this season. Daniel, Caleb, what are y'all thoughts on the game?
I think this is a big what's the word I'm looking for, man? Tutorial on how to fry rice. I mean, they've been kind of shifty for a lot of teams. I mean, they took down Houston, something we couldn't do, unfortunately. Went toe-to-toe with SMU just last week. So I think we really put on an exhibition for the rest of the conference, show them how it's done. I think the big talk on Twitter was like, you really can't stack this up versus everybody else because they were missing the quarterback. But I don't know if you've looked at the stats, but I mean, the passing was about the same as before. Padgett's numbers as far as completion wasn't too different. So I think that's an invalid argument. I think this is a really good display for our team, and I think you absolutely can stack it up against how other teams have struggled with Rice in the past.
100%. Yeah, I think you had a lot of people that said, oh, it's 34-14, but they don't have JT Daniels. But, even with that, I mean, our defense is showing in and of itself, with guys like Trey Moore, where you got 2 sacks. He's averaging, I think, 2 to 3 sacks a game right now. And then our offense, just whether it's the run game or the passing game, we seem to be, either having one of those options work every game. But right now, I mean, we look like we're on fire. I think with USF coming up, our only competitor that I'm kind of worried about is going to be Tulane, and then obviously whoever we play in the championship. But Caleb, what are your thoughts on the game? Was there anything you saw that you liked? Anything that maybe worried you a bit?
Not much that really worried me. Like Daniel was saying, passing was roughly similar production to Rice's. Where we really made the difference was on the ground. They had less than 50 yards rushing. We had almost 200.
Yep.
I mean, and yes, some of that was due to being up big towards the end. Still, to hold any team under 50 yards rushing is huge.
And how about Trey Moore, guys? 2 sacks. He's averaging 2 to 3 sacks a game right now. He's really come into his own position. I mean, you got people at the end of this game being like, "Man, if you don't start paying him, he's going to end up upping and leaving, early." What are your thoughts on how he's progressed over the past couple seasons?
He's only what, half sack away from the American sack record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's already surpassed Marcus Davenport's, right?
Yeah, I mean we're setting American Conference records. Our first season there, dude is insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely going to be a necessity to give support for NIL to be able to maintain for next year.
Here's a question that somebody like the average fan might want to know, but what made Davenport draftable, and what would I guess make Trey Moore draftable right now if he isn't already?
I know Davenport, I mean, I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I mean, his size was a big one. I mean, the guy was absolutely massive. Trey Moore, I mean, from a pure athletic perspective, he's just been able to perform really high. I think he's a bit smaller than Davenport, obviously, but yeah. What are your thoughts? Like, what makes someone like Trey Moore draftable in the same way that I guess you could say Marcus Davenport was? Is it just pure size, performance, a mixture of the two?
Yeah. So certainly size. He's now tied Davenport's school record for career sacks with 22. A lot of what helped Davenport out was also dealing with his pro day and his agent. So when it comes time for that, just on top of his already good production levels, it's going to be all about the show and the story that they get out to the scouts when that time comes, of course.
Do you see him? I know this is really taboo, and knock on wood, I don't like to focus on negativity, but there's obviously going to be big teams calling during the offseason, trying to rate us. What does UTSA need to do to keep guys like Trey Moore from jumping ship?
Certainly just increasing support wherever possible. Support looks different from player to player. You have some that really want to chase that bag, and it's about finances. Some just want to feel the support from the community in general, having the love on social media, just feeling wanted. And I know it's a difference between the star players and some of your second and third string guys on what it takes to stick around. Certainly NIL support where these players and the team where possible, donating to the team for facilities and resources to be able to give players the best opportunity with facilities going forward. I mean, just try to get your friends and family to support where possible.
Yeah, I think completely agree with you. I mean, I think right now nobody does more with less than UTSA right now. There's a lot of people now talking, with all the news about trailer and A&M and just all this stuff. I mean, we've been here before. It seems like every season over the past few years, because we've been doing so well, it's like by the time we get to those last 2-3 games, it kind of sucks, but it's like, less of the focus is on us as a team and how we can progress and really succeed and build on what we have. And all this attention instead goes towards like, so-and-so is coming to get us, so-and-so is doing this. And, I think at the end of the day, like you said, again, San Antonio, 7th largest city in America, and the money is there. It's just, at what point do we really turn that corner where we're no longer having to worry about doing, I guess, more with less all the time? But definitely a good problem to have. First half of the game was a little bit rough. First quarter, UTSA only gets 3 points. They're not able to get it into the red zone. We get a touchdown in the second quarter, but then third quarter, 21 points. What did you guys see maybe that was a little bit different going into the third quarter? Was it just happen chance, or did you see anything that maybe was noteworthy as far as changes that were made? Because that's one of the things that Coach talked about is like, we've yet to play a game where all 4 quarters, everyone's firing on all cylinders. We got the tools there. We've got the setup, but it just seems like consistency to play a full game to the best of our ability is something that we still haven't been able to lock down.
I think it was just being able to hit them with that momentum killer, because, I mean, they went into the locker room with that touchdown. Yeah. So, I mean, the margins, we were up, but the margin was just so small. Mm-hmm. Getting the ball back in the third quarter is huge, and shutting it down right away is huge. And I think that just went back to back. I think we had a turnover right after that 3-and-out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you got it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, having a 3-and-out, having a turnover, really just gets the ball rolling. And I think Chris Carpenter's return was that third quarter as well?
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just killing the momentum and then building momentum, I think, is what carried us through that. And I think had we kept Frank in the fourth, I mean, I think we would have kept that rolling. But I think it was good to, get him out, keep him healthy, and get some snaps for the young guys.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it looks like right now Owen McCone is a front runner. Before he was kind of put on the back burner, but right now it seems like the coaching staff is leaning towards him taking Frank's place. He hasn't gotten a whole lot of game time. I know the most game time he's seen was against Tennessee, and obviously he did really, really well given the circumstances. Against the Rice game, 7 yards, so not a whole lot. We had to depend a lot on our rushing game and then the defense to kind of keep Rice locked down. How are you guys feeling as Frank enters, possibly his last couple of games? with Owen? I know there's not a whole lot of tape on him right now, but how are you guys feeling that transition is going to go? We've got a stacked running back room. We've still got a really, really solid receiving core. Do you see maybe a significant regression with that transfer to Owen, or how do you guys see that going down?
I don't think there'll be too much regression. We're certainly going to feel Frank Harris's loss. Don't get me wrong on that. I think the biggest thing that I worry about on offense is losing Frank's leadership, making sure keeping everybody's blood temperature or blood pressure down, ice in the veins. We don't necessarily know what we're going to get from Owen in that situation. I'm pretty confident in Owen as a passer that he'll be able to do a very serviceable job coming in next year. Has plethora of weapons to throw to, good run game. So I mean, I don't see the offense dropping off too much in terms of talent and ability, just whether in those close game situations, whether we can have Owen be the guy that actually rallies everyone around to stay focused and get the job done.
Yeah.
I think leadership is huge. And I think if you can't have that, what we can ask for is that chemistry between the passer and the receivers. And I think it helps that, Cephas is going, right? And we've got this sort of new core coming in. McEwen, Amador, and Willie McCoy have only been here for the same amount of time that Owen's been here. So they've, fresh relationships, but they've gone, through the same amount of time together. They're going to have the same amount of time to sort of build what the past, duos have had, Frank and Cephas and the others. But skill-wise, it's good that we have that, running back core in case we were to suffer that bad in the passing game. Three-headed snake with Rocco, Kavorian, and help me out here, Robert Henry.
There you go.
Out. But I think that they have time to build that chemistry, and they've had the time. So it helps out that whoever's coming in is going to have a fresh batch of wide receivers coming in as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really my biggest comfort is knowing that running back room is so freaking stacked, and even if it takes a little bit longer, as long as we can keep our defensive core, kind of keeping their offense locked up, we can really start leaning on them. And I mean, I don't know if you guys are on Twitter a whole lot and looking at the way the players communicate, but it definitely seems that Owen has a lot of the trust from the players. I mean, a lot of the players really, really love him, and they really seem to support him. And so it seems to be, a good spot. I think for me, at least, it's just sort of dealing with that PTSD of the pre-trailer era where we were dealing with season after season after Souza left, where we had no QB. And that was like, one of the worst feelings is like, man, what are we going to do? Like, it was just a huge, huge Achilles heel for us. And so I think right now is the first time where we have just a team that is so stacked and so well balanced that even with Frank leaving, there's just so much support. And Owen, obviously, with Tennessee, trial by fire. I mean, he's shown himself to definitely have what it takes. It's just going to take some time getting those knots kind of layered out.
And I think since the spring game, I've heard murmurs of him, kind of having a good spring game. I didn't get to go, unfortunately. Yeah. Being that he has that pedigree, right? Dad and uncle being in the NFL, I think he's in line to have a really great offseason.
Sure.
I think we can't discount that. That's something that, Frank had a former NFL talent teaching him, but being in the same house, having that barbecue with your uncle in the offseason, right? That's just access that not a lot of quarterbacks have. Right. So I'm, maybe not right away, but I think throughout his career, I think we're going to have some great moments with him. I'm really excited about that.
For sure. Yeah. And I think, I don't know if this is y'all's interpretation, but it almost seemed like outside of the Tennessee game, whenever Owen came onto the field, it seemed like there was no real tailored plan for him. like it was just like, hey, just pass the ball, just pass it to one of the running backs and just slam it through. Because with the Tennessee game, it definitely seemed like he had some really nice plays that were tailored for him that maybe he had ran routes with before. But right now, I mean, we haven't really, outside the Rice game and the Tennessee game, he just doesn't seem to have been on the field to the point where I guess Justin Burke was like, hey, this is the plan. This is what you're going to do. So I'm really hoping at least, we've got obviously USF coming up, that we can see him out there more and see him getting warmed up. Because, I mean, once we got Tulane and potentially SMU in the championship, we're probably not going to see him too much. But definitely a good overall problem to have. Nothing I'm super worried about. One thing, though, that was super scary during the game, Willie McCoy looks like he got snapped on the neck, was down for it felt like half an hour. Ended up getting carted off. I think right now, thankfully, he's doing well. Caleb, I know you were actually closer to the field. Did you get a better idea of what was going on? What happened?
No, unfortunately, everything was going on the other half of the field from me. So I mean, it was complete other end zone. So we couldn't make sense of what was going on over there. Everyone was waiting around, and then you saw the cart come out to get him, and we knew it was serious at that point.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I'm really glad he's okay. I think we've been very fortunate to not have to deal with too many serious injuries, and relatively speaking, we're more or less healthy going into Tulane. Right now, undefeated in the AAC. There was a lot of bad blood going in after that Army loss. A lot of people were like, first loss in the Alamo Dome for quite a while. And now, here we are undefeated in the American Conference, tied up with Tulane and SMU. How are we playing based on y'all's predictions? I know preseason, everyone was riding high. I know for myself, I was like, maybe one loss against Tennessee and we'll absolutely stop everyone else. Didn't start out that way, but man, we were able to really pick up the pace. Has this team thus far performed to y'all's expectations or not?
The only thing I got right was, doing well in conference. I think we all knew Houston was going to be close. Army, felt like a given. And when you look at the score, maybe it, one play could have made all the difference. But conference, the conference performance is the only thing I've been spot on so far.
Caleb, what were your expectations coming in? I know after the Houston game, especially, I mean, during the interviews, whenever they asked Coach, like, what was your hardest loss, the one that you regret the most? And I mean, he was saying even more than the Gilmer losses he had, that Houston loss last year going to triple overtime was one of the most painful. And then obviously not having the ability to get the revenge against them at the inaugural game this year was a big thing. But definitely seems like we shook off, I guess those specs, and we're kind of in a much better mind state. What do you think we did differently going into conference play that maybe we hadn't really resolved during the first few games?
I think similar to last year, it's just a matter of getting healthier by the end of conference play, or by the end of out of conference play, and shaking off the cobwebs, I guess. Fine tuning, I should say, going into conference, because I feel great about this team. Defense is humming. Offense is humming at the right time. Tulane has weaknesses.
Yeah.
Memphis has weaknesses. They beat Charlotte in overtime. As far as the four teams that are still in play for the AAC championship between UTSA, Tulane, Memphis, and SMU, Memphis has had some way too close games they have no business being so close in. Tulane has certainly had those games this year. Mm-hmm. Only one that really hasn't is SMU, other than against Rice, and both of those teams had quarterback issues going into it. The only difference is Rice's quarterback didn't come back the next week, and SMU's did. We can absolutely keep up with any of these other three teams but certainly we want to make sure that we went out and put ourselves in as good of a position to actually be in this game as we can.
Yeah.
I had an Instagram caption for my pick from last year's conference championship, and it was like, UTSA will play Tulane in the AAC in the Alamo Dome in 2023. So it's not looking like that's going to be the case. But that was my prediction as of almost a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as far as conference championship contenders, obviously Tulane, and UTSA, and Memphis being kind of the dark horse in the back end. And Caleb, you might get a better understanding of how this positioning is going to go. But is there any chance that if UTSA wins out, that we play the conference championship in the Alamo Dome, or is that pretty much a no-go?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a possibility, but it's by no means the favorite to do so, because the tiebreaker is the college football playoff rankings, and Army loss is going to be the thing that does us in. I think the rankings could have forgiven us for the loss to Houston, but that loss to Army is a bad loss.
100%.
And SMU, I don't think they have. I don't think that they have a bad loss, and they have really big wins.
Yeah.
How likely it is you think SMU finishes off ranked before we meet them?
They could be ranked after this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on how well they do, you tend to see some teams get a little bit of a nice bump going into conference championship weekend for the contenders. As far as their coverage from the stations to really boost up those ratings, you could see Tulane and SMU if those two win out, it's for sure that they would go, but that game would be at Tulane.
Yeah.
SMU, for us to host, obviously winning out means that we beat Tulane. If we're going to host, the only way that we do it is if everybody has at least one conference loss. But we don't go up against anyone currently undefeated, whether it's Tulane or SMU, and host them.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel like I'm more than pulling for a home conference championship game. I feel like my dream scenario at this point is to obviously win out, SMU gets ranked, and then have a shot at beating two ranked teams in the same season. I think that would make this even more legendary than our season 2 years ago.
Oh yeah,
and that would be the most likely scenario, because I think we lose, and that most likely puts us at, or not only with us one loss, but Tulane has no losses and SMU plays or has no losses because they really haven't played anyone. They would play each other. I think it's even more unlikely that we host Tulane or Memphis at the Alamo Dome. Most likely thing is going to be us in Dallas.
Yeah.
The triangle will travel, will turn it into a home game.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a good thing about SMU is they, even now, even with all the success they're having, moving to the ACC, you pull up some of those attendance in Gerald Ford, like it's not great. And there's definitely a good contingent. I mean, you see for the UNT game, it almost looked like a UTSA home game on TV. And so I think going to SMU, I mean, obviously I'd love to play the championship in the Alamo Dome, but I think going to SMU, if that ends up happening, is going to be the next best thing. And, kind of almost a middle finger to them as they leave. But I don't want to get too cocky. I think SMU is that one team that I'm a little worried about. Tulane right now. I don't know if you guys have seen the scores, but it's been really close like, yeah, they're ranked. That's great. But if you look at the past few wins, it's been by like less than a possession.
Right.
They beat Tulsa by 22-24. That was it, 2 points. And Tulsa's not a good team. And then, Rice, 30-28. And so North Texas, 28-35.
ECU.
Yeah, ECU, 13-10. I mean, these are really like barely making it through. And so they've just really been fortunate of getting a lot of that rep from the previous seasons, carrying them in and being ranked where they are right now. But I think, like you said, Daniel, like this is a really good opportunity for us to get, our first ranked win, and hopefully that catapults us up. Tulane, their only 2 remaining teams is going to be us and then FAU this weekend. So
Tulane is also heavily benefited from being surrounded in the rankings by teams with 3 losses.
Yeah.
So anytime one of those teams lose, it doesn't matter whether they barely won or not.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to be kept in the top 25.
Right.
Caleb, what do you think, coming out of the conference championship, pure possibility here with 2 ranked wins, what does that do for our bowl selection?
Right now, I mean, that does put us at most likely the could be New Year's 6 is best group 5. That because I mean James Madison can't go, even though they're undefeated, which is travesty.
Liberty hasn't played anybody.
Liberty hasn't played anyone. Used to be that Air Force was doing hot, but that's not really the case anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, you could certainly put us in a New Year's 6 with two ranked wins. I mean, yeah, but if it's not New Year's 6, it's still going to be just the same projections that we're seeing. Whether it's one of the, I think 4 or 5 Dallas Bowls, your New Mexico. I've seen I've seen Hawaii, Bahamas. So we're either going to be really close or we're going to have a nice little destination.
USF sitting at 3-3 in conference, 5-5 overall. Vegas has the line right now at 20 points in UTSA's favor. It's a home game, so that helps as well. USF, I mean, they're a tricky team. I'm not sure how much y'all have been following them, but they got blown out by FAU 56-14, and they've been keeping it really tight when it comes to their wins. Against Temple, for example, a 3-point victory over them, and over Navy, a couple touchdowns. But they almost beat Memphis. It was a 50-59 loss. I think they're going to be.
They kept Bama to 27. That's keeping Bama to 27 as a crappy school is pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course, Bama was rotating quarterbacks. I think that's when Saban decided Milroe was the guy to go with. But still, I mean, it's still something to keep an eye on.
Oh, dude, yeah. Anytime you get if you lose to a top 10 team 17-3, like, dude, I don't care who you are, like you deserve your reps, and that's the only thing that I'm a little hesitant about. I mean, Vegas always knows at the end of the day, but they just seem to be incredibly inconsistent, and so they just have some games where it seems really like the games where it's like a big game, like against Memphis or Alabama. They seem to play up to the competition. And then when it's a more lower tier game, they kind of play down. But what are y'all's thoughts going to the Alamo Dome? Do you see us kind of wiping them out, or is this going to be a lot closer than they say it will be?
They did also score more points on Rice than we did.
Yeah, 29-42, and that's with JC Daniels in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the biggest trap game, considering that we're going to have the emotion of senior night.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to Tulane.
Yeah. That I mean, and they're not dealing with senior night; they're just visiting.
Yeah.
So I think coaches has really stressed that in the interviews this week. You kind of hope that translates into the locker room and how the players receive it. But I think all those things considered, this is the biggest trap game.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. I think 20 points is a bit generous. I think this is going to be a really hungry team coming in. And with UTSA, I mean, it's unfortunate because it's like every season, as we get to the end of the season, all these distractions come of like, oh, someone's leaving, what's going to happen there. And I'm just hoping it doesn't get us too distracted and kind of shoot us in the foot, because we're in that weird place right now, right? We're like Kayla, like you said, like we're still technically in the running for a New Year's Six. And so if we continue to fire on all cylinders, I mean, dude, we can really, really have arguably the best season we've ever had at UTSA. But again, if we let these distractions get to us, it could turn south really quickly. One thing that I did want to talk about is sort of attendance, and this is sort of, I guess, not X's and O's, but 28,000 right now. If you look at the G5 stats, we are on the higher tier when it comes to attendance. But when you're in the Alamo Dome, almost 70K can fit in there. Even 28K can sometimes seem a little bit maybe underwhelming. What can UTSA do to help get more butts in seats? I know there are a lot of people who say, hey, you've got to play better competition. I know Texas State, when they came in, obviously in-state rivalry for a lot of people, packed the place out. Is the reason why we're not seeing as many people as we would like because of the competition? Because as far as play goes, we're doing really well. Maybe not as well as we were previous seasons, but still really well. But we're just not able to consistently break over that 30K threshold. Like, what do we need to do to break that? Is that something that we can do in the short term, or is it just going to take a long time, maybe even moving to a different conference before we can start to see that happen?
Prices. That's it. I think Tulane. I think just today people were seeing how cheap tickets were to go to Tulane, and like the cheapest ticket is like $18. Mm. And I think to see a UTSA game, what is it like? I'm a season ticket holder, slight flex, right? But I think you're looking at least $30-ish for a cheap seat in the dome.
Yeah.
Factor in taxes. Factor in that you probably want to take your family. So for a family of three, even a father and son, you're looking at close to $100 when you account for parking and fees.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, and I know it's harder because we have that constraint. We're with the Alamo Dome, but I think there could be a case made that attendance would be better as far as the community goes if tickets were cheaper and more accessible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not super well versed in that, but are the ticket prices? I'm assuming they're established by the Alamo Dome, correct? Like, we don't have a whole lot of say in that.
We have a say in what the ticket prices are starting off, but then the Alamo Dome has their facilities fee that they tack on to the end of it. And then you have the ticket master fee on top of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they were trying to really push the last four or the first four home games as a package, and they were pushing like $10 tickets. And I remember I got a few, and by the end of the transaction, that $10 ticket turned into almost, it felt like it almost went to 20.
Yeah. I
mean, because it's each ticket, it's a flat fee added. So I want to say Ticketmaster is the fee's a combination of a flat and a percentage of whatever the ticket price is. And the Alamo Dome facility fee is a flat $3 at one point on top of the ticket. So yeah, I mean, those hidden, I don't want to say hidden costs, but you're going around announcing, oh yeah, these tickets are going to only be $10.
Yeah.
Starting off, sure, but nobody's paying anywhere near that by the time it gets in the cart.
Mm-hmm.
Our bread and butter at the beginning, when UTSA first got football, we didn't have anywhere near the graduates that we're putting out now, and yet we were in the 30s, the 40s, thousands, because we were going for families. Hey, bring your family of four over here. we're way cheaper than what you're going to pay to drive up an hour to the Longhorn games. We're a hell of a lot cheaper than it's going to be taking that same family of 4 to Dallas or Houston on Sundays. So if you want football entertainment on the weekend for the whole family, that's affordable. It's UTSA, but you got the parking costs, you got the ever increasing ticket costs, you have the insanely priced concessions. It just gets easier to watch the game on TV for a lot of these casual fans who we want to market to, who don't have the ties to UTSA. They might have not gone to college at all, and so they don't have a need to be downtown.
Yeah.
So it's easier for them to watch it on TV or Facebook or ESPN Plus, whatever that route may be, than go and waste a lot of their hard-earned money.
My more pessimistic take is that, the initial attendance that we saw was that, UTSA football is kind of like the novelty. I mean, it's college football in the dome for the first time. Everyone's checking it out. That's kind of fizzled out. The pessimism is that it might take time to the point where we start building sort of the legacy, right? A&M, UT, you have people who have been in the school family-wise for, 2, 3, 4 generations. That's not the deal with us. And I think it's going to take time to build that kind of family loyalty, family legacy. And I think that sort of starts to wean in with the winning football record over time. But that really what it might take to really cement that kind of attendance. And there's really nothing we can do about it, especially if we're going to stay in the dome.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think at this point, most hardcore UTSA fans are no longer really questioning the dome. Like, it's shown itself to be, even if you're only filling it with 25,000 people, like, it's still an extremely loud place to play. Indisputably, it offers a huge home field advantage. I mean, just how many penalties, every game, there's at least 1 or 2 that's guaranteed because of crowd noise. And so I think, when I was 2013, freshman, sophomore at UTSA, I think, Caleb, like what you were talking about when it comes to ticket costs, I mean, they were also doing a lot of deals with like the local Domino's and Pizza Hut, where you would go in and you'd buy pizza or something, you'd have like a couple of tickets tacked on for free. I don't know the back end of how much that was costing us, but obviously the prices have gone higher, and definitely, Daniel, what you were saying is true too. The novelty of it all. I mean, at the end of the day, having almost $60K for an inaugural game for a program like we did, just breaking those records, that was definitely a novelty. You have a lot of people in San Antonio who probably never followed UTSA again who came to that game, but at the end of the day, like you said, I think you guys both have good points. It's just we've got to sort of build that legacy where people are going to have those memories, and then at the same time, I think if there was some way where over the short term at least we're able to kind of bite that bullet, bring the prices down for at least a few seasons. Just try to focus on just getting as many butts in seats as possible. And then, after 3 or 4 years, as long as we continue to win, obviously, hopefully you've built enough of a repertoire, a rapport with people that, hey, they're like, hey, I want to come out and see them, even if it's more expensive. Because that's the one thing about San Antonio is, I love the city to death, but it is a little bit more of like a poor city, I guess, in some ways. And so you're not like in Dallas or somewhere where, these guys are rolling around in their, 50-inch rims, like, and even then, right, look at UNT and SMU, even they're not able to get a really good attendance coming in. And so relatively speaking, despite all these things, we're still on the higher end of the G5s. And I think with the Alamo Dome, it's just such a huge asset. And if we just get to the point where we're able to start averaging back in those 30s and 40s, it's going to be like one of the best places to play in college football. But
I'm optimistic about the fact that you have super fans being bred during the trailer era, which it didn't happen while I was in school. I mean, I don't know too many people that graduated with me that are still following ball.
Yeah.
Of course, there's some, but I mean, I think it's a whole different scale now. I mean, if I envy everybody who was in the student section as a student during that UAB game, like I would. I'm a super fan now, but I think it would be a whole nother level had I been, had my fandom been bred during that time.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, I remember sitting there in the Taco Bell student section by yourself, and there's like nobody around you. And
Yeah.
that was some brutal times. And that's the one thing too, is like, even though we don't have the biggest fan base yet, you can just go on socials and you'll see it every day. Like the fans that we do have are incredibly vocal. Like we have some really hardcore fans, especially when you compare them to certain schools like Rice, or Temple, where you're going on there and you're trying to look at, how engaged their fan bases are. There's like nobody. I mean, Rice, they'll post scores on their official account and they'll get a couple of retweets. Most of the people commenting underneath that are like the team that beat them. And so
yeah, I had to bookmark some Temples fans tweet from like January, and that's the only trash I had to talk like when we beat them. Like there was nothing. I had to go find that bookmark and go ha. That's all we had.
No, 100%. Yeah, it's a long game, and a lot of people like to bash marketing and all that, and there's just a lot of moving parts that you kind of have to get gelled together. I think right now it's just you got to have the growth mindset where it's like, hey, we're not going to be making money right now, but if we can just get butts and seats, building that legacy, it's going to have a huge reward later. But I guess a couple of taboo topics. We don't have to delve too deeply into this. But first one is Zachary Franklin, Ole Miss right now. Basically we had news come out last week that, Kiffin said, hey, he's not playing anymore. He chose not to play anymore, which is interesting. Some other people were saying that he's actually not even with the program anymore. I don't know exactly what went down. If maybe he's just trying to redshirt and play again with Ole Miss next season, or go for the draft. Some people are saying, hey, have him come back. I know Sackett, for example, he went to Arkansas, went around for a bit, then ended up coming back. What are y'all's thoughts on how that plays out? Do you see him staying with Ole Miss, or do you think he might come back to San Antonio?
I think it'd be great to have him back. Assuming we have Traylor next year, I kind of wonder if he has a culture issue. Having him back, he's very much about, team versus self. Obviously Traylor respects the fact that he did what he had to do, for his own career and what he thought was best. But when you look at it, it very much is a, self over team decision to leave like that. And I think the fan base, wished him well. And I personally still do, but I feel like Traylor, has his vision for next season, and culture wise, I wonder if he has an issue with him coming back.
Yeah.
And just to butt in really quickly with, kind of tying that into Trey Moore, and anybody else that's kind of looking at a new situation. I think there's kind of an efficient frontier analysis you have to kind of do for yourself. Where does that kind of weigh in? Money now versus success in the NFL later. It's unfortunate that it's kind of worked out that way for Z, but I think this situation is going to help a lot of these young guys kind of think before they jump. But talent-wise, I think it'd be great to have him back. My only reservation would be if, coach possibly has a culture issue with him bringing him back and making him a starter right away.
Definitely. Caleb, any thoughts?
Kind of the same thoughts. We had to prepare for his departure. I personally wouldn't want to bring him back, at least promising him a starting role with our young talent and everything that we're doing. I wouldn't want to mess up their development for 1 year of possibly good Zachary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. We don't necessarily know that he's going to be 2022 Zachary. He had that knee scope, and that was a thing that was lingering a lot of this season at Ole Miss. So, and he's had a catch here and there, but we don't know that he's going to be back to 100% of what he was. So why promise and ruin what we have team chemistry wise going into next year for one season of him?
Right.
If he can certainly come in and play a role, I wouldn't guarantee him any kind of playing time or starting time. I think him leaving, he's got to earn that trust coming back.
Yeah, completely agree. I think for me, the biggest, silver lining here is just the fact that other players hopefully are looking at this, especially the star guys, guys like Trey Moore, like you're looking at this and you're saying, hey, sure, I might get a really nice paycheck to play for a season, but, you're not going to probably get as much play time, and you could end up just shooting yourself in the foot for one paycheck, especially for these guys that have NFL potential. I mean, I don't think anybody the past couple of years thought that, Z would not go to the NFL. Like, he was a tremendous player alongside Cephas and Clark. And so, again, wish him best. Like, these are kids. And, if I was in his shoes and somebody offered me a huge paycheck, like, that's going to be hard to turn down. But I guess just putting that into perspective in this new kind of NIL world we live in, where it's like, hey, yeah, you can't get paid really well, but if you're playing at a top G5 and you're playing as a starter, and especially at a place like UTSA where you've got NFL scouts every single week. I mean, since the preseason, we had scouts coming in. Last season, the last game, we had Viking scouts in the bleachers. I mean, I don't think we've ever had a season with this many scouts coming to UTSA, coming to the games. And so, yeah, maybe we're not able to offer you like that NIL deal that you might be able to get at some of these big universities. But I mean, hey, if you're able to play well, you can be a shoo-in to actually be playing on Sundays, and especially with the record that we've had right now at UTSA, where I think right now we've got 5 or 6 guys on active rosters, or at least that are playing within the NFL on Sundays in any given month. That's huge. And so anyone I think that is willing to, I guess, sacrifice the short term for the long term should be really encouraged to stay in that regards. But last one, and again, this is one that I post on Twitter. Like, I don't want to talk too much about it, so we don't have to discuss this in detail. But A&M cutting out Jimbo. They're going to pay that dude millions. I think someone said that he's going to make $30,000 or $23,000 every other couple of days as a retired coach. And so they're now looking around, searching for who the next guy is. From a purely profile base, Traylor obviously is some guy that fits the bill in a lot of ways. And a lot of people now, big guys have posted up, hey, this is your guy, go after him. And for me, at least, I know Trillo turned down Texas Tech. There were rumors that he got offered Illinois as well, and a couple of other P5s. He turned all those down. The only teams that worried me about Traylor, with him being a Gilmer guy, a Texas guy, was UT and A&M. And so this is something that, while I don't want to get too deep into, it is something that, is kind of irking me on the back of my head, what might happen. How do you guys see this playing out? I think the only thing that is going to keep Traylor here and keep A&M from going after him is just the fact that while he has a great record playing the G5, we don't have any ranked wins, and we don't have any wins against powerhouse football teams. We beat Illinois, but they were not a good team to begin with, and we also don't have any bowl game wins. So that's the only thing that I think might keep him from actually getting grabbed. How do you guys see this playing out in the offseason?
Off the top, if he ever gets a UT offer, he's as good as gone. Like, that's something that I'm at peace with that. Coming into this week, I was kind of taking comfort in the fact that he might be on A&M's list, but not at the top. But these last 2 days, Mike Craven and Don Harris have really been pushing this.
Yeah.
And there are other media people as well. But I think a lot of fans at A&M they're kind of split.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Our record hasn't been, outside of conference, hasn't been too solid. That might be our saving grace. But some media heads are really, really pushing this. So I personally don't have a prediction. I think we'll find out probably no later than next Monday. There's a big meeting with the regions going on Friday. Probably won't announce right away. The games will probably get in the way for the weekend. Maybe even Sunday, because he got fired on Sunday. That's when the news broke.
Yeah.
So no later than Monday, in my opinion. Caleb, do you want to touch on anything before I talk more about what I think about this whole situation?
Yeah, of course Don's going to push the narrative of him going to A&M. He's a Mean Green grad.
But Mike Craven's a UTSA guy.
Oh yeah.
But Don is a UNT grad.
Yeah. But ironically, like, from what I've seen, like, Don has been a little bit more, like, he just posted a video right before this podcast, basically saying, like, yeah, like, A&M should probably go after Traylor. But Don was talking about, hey, like, but UTSA, if San Antonio can really rally around him, this is the time to do it. Craven, like, I think it's kind of funny because like he was posting basically like very unbiased, like zero UTSA favor, just saying, hey, this is your guy. And so he actually had some UTSA fans comment under like, hey, what are you doing, man? You're a UTSA grad. Why are you going after him? Because
Peter Burns pushed it too, and he's a UTSA guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, I mean, if you're a reporter, right, like you've got to, first of all, you got to stay kind of unbiased, and then also, you're trying to get reach, and so if you're able to obviously dip into that A&M fan base and get people reading your stuff, totally makes sense. But it definitely did. Though it was like, man, I just wish we did not talk about this a whole lot right now.
No, it's one of those things where like, oh man, Trailer's the absolute best, and then if somebody is coming around to come get him, oh no, Trailer, no bowl wins, no
right, yeah,
no ranked wins,
yeah,
God, you don't want him, no,
yeah,
I mean we'll suffer with Trailer.
Yeah, that's definitely me on the inside, but of course, because I love Trailer, I want to keep him here. Playing through the scenarios of losing him, right? I mean, I would like to think that he hangs out for a bowl, right? Because I mean, that's kind of like Frank's dream, and they have that relationship.
Yeah.
But of course, A&M wants recruiting to start getting salvaged right away.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably would be off the table. I like to think head coach Will Stein to the rescue.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, man, you're getting me excited right now. Like that's the thing is like if we were able to give Will Stein that opportunity to come back, even though, man, like even with him, right, like he'd probably end up jumping it eventually too. But Will Stein would be a tremendous addition. For me, like replacement wise, I would probably say it'd be Will Stein or Jeff McKinney with Texas State. Like I think those are the two that maybe might make most sense. But I think the reason why I guess it just hurts so much is like Trailer is just such a dime a dozen, because if it was any other coach, if you're 3 years into this G5 program with as little funding as we have, as little established facilities that we have, and you've got Texas Tech flying their jet into San Antonio with their entire board walking up and saying, hey, the job is yours. Like no other coach would say no to that. Like Trailer is like a dime a dozen, a needle in a haystack when it comes to that kind of thing. And that's just the only thing is like, when you have an opportunity for A&M with generational wealth and playing in the SEC, it is a little worrying. I think right now all the reports have him being the front runner alongside Mike Elko from Duke. And Duke
former DC for A&M.
What's that?
Elko, the former DC for A&M.
Yeah. I mean, Duke, obviously they're in the Atlantic, but they haven't been doing too hot. They're 8th right now in the Atlantic coast. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like A&M is definitely going to be a lot more hesitant now that they're going to have to be paying essentially for 2 coaches for a few years. But you never know, man. Oil prices go up. Those guys have unlimited money. But I don't know, man. Yeah, I think I'm hoping we see him at least until a bowl game. My gut tells me we escape with him at least for this season, and then hopefully, I'm personally not a UT fan, but for the next few seasons, man, I'm hoping Sark kills it and we'll be safe for a little bit longer. But all right, okay, well, that about wraps it up for our football coverage for now. Again, hope to see you guys in the Dome whenever this comes out. Hopefully to get it out before Friday, and then. We can do a small little preview, I guess, with Tulane. Caleb, are you going to make it out to Louisiana for that?
No, I'll be back with the watch parties.
Okay, got it. Okay. And Daniel, I guess you'll be at the watch party too.
I'll be in the Rio Grande Valley, hosting my own watch party. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe at a Buffalo Wild Wing somewhere. Got it. Okay. Hey, man, ABC. So we don't have to worry about buy a subscription. But all right, guys. Well, Daniel, appreciate you having on. Daniel works pretty closely with Rowdy Network. They do a lot of NIL deals with different players and different outings. How you got into it? Yeah, so thinking back to when Coach Traylor just got here, he kind of asked when he had that speech at the Dome. He asked the community for financial support. He asked us to come to the games. And then he like goes down as little as, give my players a like, give my players a follow. So I interpreted that as, just do what you can, give us what you can. So while in his time here, NIL's kind of become a thing, sort of a blessing and sort of an issue for us as well. So our young fan base, right? We've got some ballers in the fan base and the alumni base, but it's a lot of people giving a little, and I think with NIL, the businesses getting in. If you can't write $100,000, $100 check to any of the collectives. My idea is, next time you go out for a burger, don't go to Whataburger, go to Biggs, because they've got to deal with the O-line. Next time you go on a date or something, don't go to Dairy Queen, go to Fruteria Chavez, because these are the businesses supporting the team that we love. So the goal is to, bring awareness to these businesses while at the same time sort of, flexing our consumer muscle. I want to encourage more businesses to market to us, pay our players, and at the same time, we want to make it worth everybody's while. A lot of these businesses will, like I'm sure Biggs, the owners I know are big UTSA fans. When they had this deal, I don't think they did it with the goal of making a lot of money off of it, but it was just a labor of love. But I really want these businesses to see a return on this investment. So businesses who might not be the biggest fans of UTSA. We'll see a benefit in supporting our players.
Definitely. Are there any businesses that you guys work with right now, with a contract or?
No, so we just kind of, and when I say we, it's me and my friend Brandon Grell, who you may or may not know. Hit him up with any of your realty needs. But it's very ragtag. We're more of a Facebook page than a group, right? We're not an NIL collective. We're not collecting any money. Anytime I hear about a business who has any sort of NIL deal, we want to have an event out there. Our first one was Fruteria Chavez. Rocco Griffin hadn't seen the field at all yet. Went in there and he talked to the family, and they hadn't done any UTSA stuff before in the past, and they just gave him an NIL deal because they liked him. They've had a lot of success recently. I don't know how much they can contribute to the NIL deal, but hit them up for any of your fruteria needs. But yeah, we're very ragtag, and we've kind of we haven't had any events in the last couple of months because it's been football season, and that's kind of been our market. We push them a lot on Facebook. You guys help us out with getting the information out. But I've kind of been wanting to, and as we kind of gear up as the season ends, our Facebook crowd, our older alumni friends, they get out of work, they've got families to tend to. I think there might be an opportunity to go a bit more in a young professionals sort of direction with this. Going to businesses and just getting a big group of people together to just eat or drink there. Yeah. So that's really our goal: bring awareness to these businesses and give them some business.
There you go. That's awesome. Is there a website or a Facebook or Twitter page where people can follow you guys?
Rowdy Network on Facebook. That's pretty much it. Give us a like. If you're in any of the big Facebook group pages, anytime we have an event, we blast them on there. And of course, if they follow y'all on Facebook, y'all will see it there when you guys give us a share. I don't know if it's going to replace or get added to, but this young professionals thing is kind of a direction I want to start taking it. So if anybody's interested, this could be a young professionals arm of an existing NIL collective. So NIL collectives, feel free to fight over me and my help. I'd be happy to turn it into maybe we turn it into a membership thing. I don't know. A lot of young professionals groups have that kind of a $10 a month kind of deal. Could be a great way to build up revenue for an NIL collective as we go along. But anybody who's interested in sort of spearheading a young professionals group with me that's UTSA based, hit me up. That's sort of a virgin idea. I want to maybe take it somewhere.
Nice. There you go, man. There you go. Yeah, really appreciate everything you guys are doing. I think that's really what makes UTSA special right now is we're at this point where we have access to playing on the big scale. We've got players who you support right now and have a really good chance of making it to the NFL. And most of the universities, it's really easy to kind of get lost in the muck of all these NILs and all these programs and things that have been there for a century plus. And so UTSA is kind of that place right now where if you want to make a mark, you want to really make an impact, this is really the place to be. And it just takes a little bit of effort, not a lot of money. And, just like Daniel said, it doesn't mean you have to write, a six-figure check. Sometimes it can just mean going to the restaurant that's supporting the players. And, with San Antonio being the way it is, the seventh largest city, that can really add up really, really quickly. But Daniel, appreciate you coming on board with that. And then I guess our next segment, Caleb, do you want to give us a little bit of a round look at what's going on in other sports?
Sure. So, first off, volleyball unfortunately lost their last two games this last weekend, ending their 7-game win streak. But I mean, just amazing turnaround from them, going from, I believe, 1-7 in conference to having a winning conference record for a bit before this weekend. Also, unfortunately, we saw Miranda Putnicki go down with injury. I would imagine out for the rest of the year. Really unfortunate to see. We also had men's basketball had a pretty bad loss at Lamar. 82-90. Only 1-2 overall. We're only 3 games in the season. A lot of
lost to Lamar there, right? This is their first loss.
I don't know on that one. I feel like we've actually had a pretty bad series overall with them throughout the years.
Do you watch much men's basketball or?
Man, I'm kind of just surviving the Henson era, I did keep up with the opener. I was out of town for the Lamar game, but I was keeping up on Twitter.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, I don't follow them too closely, at least compared to football. But I mean, at least Caleb, like, what do we need to do to turn the program around? Because I know right now we're kind of it definitely feels like we're kind of stuck because of buyouts and things like that. But like, what do we got to do with basketball? Because I know at least whenever realignment talks come up, that's usually one of the biggest things kind of holding us back is trying to get that program up and out. And what do we have to do right now? Is it a recruiting issue? Is it a coaching issue? Facilities?
That trailer buyout might go a long way.
No, I think as far as the men's go, it's just unfortunate. We have so many new players, and so we gotta still figure out what we've got.
Yeah.
We got to figure out who to make the ball or who to send the ball through for the offense. What rotations work best. Lots to figure out. And again, thankfully in basketball, we're only 3 games in. So being 1 game under 500 is not bad. Still got a lot of learning to do before we get to conference.
Definitely.
Women's, however, we are 2-1 overall. They just had a great win tonight, beating A&M Corpus on the road 66-59 in overtime. The team was down twice by 15 points and ended up coming back. They took the lead, I believe, once, and then A&M Corpus tied it. And then right at the very end of the game, UTSA fouled the Islanders, and they missed both free throws, which allowed the game to go to overtime, where the Islanders continued to miss shot after shot, free throw after free throw, and TSA leaves Corpus with a 7-point win. Kira White led the team with 18 points. Still no Jordy. Probably won't see her for a little while. But seem to be doing well regardless. So I mean, good things ahead for them.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if that record included tonight's loss, because they weren't doing too good when we started. So that win is fairly recent development.
Yeah, no, it just finished probably about 30 minutes ago. So I mean, it's just great
Awesome.
game to watch.
Awesome.
Karen Aston's got this team going in the right direction. Feel very confident with Christian's prediction of top 5 in conference. It's a possibility.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps up our episode of Meet Me Nation. Sorry for replacing Christian. A little bit rough here, but hopefully you were able to enjoy that. UTSA plays USF this Friday at 8 p.m. So hope to see you guys in the Alamo Dome. We'll have a lot of time to tailgate. And if you're not in San Antonio, you can watch that on ESPN2. Don't have to worry about trying to finagle around with ESPN Plus. But hope to see you in the Dome, and we'll catch up with you guys next week.